Operating systems. Introduction. The booting process. In the beginning was the on button, and the button was pressed by the Almighty. At this point, the firmware is activated, but what's the firmware? The firmware is a manufactured code stored in a non-volatile memory, typically EEPROM, in which is stored the basic input-output system, BIOS. Watch out! It can be updated, but only under some secure conditions. The CPU then executes at this moment the instructions of the firmware. This may go through in two possible ways: traditional BIOS and UEFI. In the traditional one, the firmware has instructions to look for the absolute first sector, number 0, aka master boot record or MBR, storing 512 bytes, to be loaded into the RAM. If nothing is found there, it looks for the first sectors in its primary partition. If nothing is found, what can be found in these sectors? Any Xcode, even virus, since it's no longer protected. But what should be found? An operating system bootloader or a booting manager.
Attention please, the bootloader is not the operating system kernel itself, it's the loader of the kernel.
If there are more than one partition, which one is run? Well, the active one, having the boot flag set. If there is more than one disk, they are run in order in the BIOS, and the first one is used by default. We find some limitations of this scheme. There is a maximum of 4 primary partitions, or 3 primary partitions plus 1 extended, with internal logical partitions, many of them 63 for example in Linux. There is a text interface. Because of the aforementioned limitations, the Unified Extensible Firmware Interface UEFI was designed, with no more master boot record, although sector 0 always exists, but it has no longer special meaning. It needs an EFI partition, which is operating system independent. It's formatted in FAT32 and has executable files, one per available operating system in the machine. This is extremely new compared to the traditional version. Actually, it may contain programs. Moreover, it has a graphical interface, it prompts a list of available operating systems, and by default loads the first one, following an order set in the BIOS. It is retro-compatible through the Compatibility Support Module or CSM, so if all the partition scheme is found, it looks for the master boot record and launches it. It may have many partitions, 128, if Global Unique ID Partition Table or GPT exists. It can handle disk up to 8 zettabytes. Zettabytes?
What?
This is the whole internet in 2015. Watch out, it must be formatted, so the file system will limit it. NTFS of Microsoft, X4 for Linux, or like FAT, and may present higher limitations. For instance, FAT32 just allows 1 terabyte. There are no different types of partitions, they are all the same, and by default, partitioning programs don't use GPT. Finally, it allows secure booting. This means it requires signed drivers to allow installation. That means the signature must be recognized by the code in the BIOS. For example, Microsoft decided to implement this option because of the blue screenshots caused by third-party drivers working at kernel level.